Another great luminary buried here in the ancient cemetery in Krakow is Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, the Bach. The Bach is short for Bayis Chadash, which was his commentary to the Torah. Now, the Bach's father was Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel was a respected member of the Lublin community, and the name Sirkis, Rabbi Yoel Sirkis, was actually after his mother. His mother's name was Sirka, and he sort of took the cognomen of his mother, Rabbi Yoel Sirkis. In his youth, he observed the Marshal, Rabbi Shlomo Luria, and he even derived several halachic conclusions from his observations of the Marshal. For example, in Shilas Teshuvos of the Bach, the older editions, Siman Kuf Nun Ches, he says he remembers as a youth that his father bought for him the Haftarah for a lot of money in the Marshal Shul, and he wasn't even bar mitzvah yet. And the Bach says, I remember reading the Haftarah before my bar mitzvah, and the Marshal didn't say anything. So from here we derive that you don't need to be bar mitzvah to read the Haftarah. Now, the Bach was a man of means. He maintained a large yeshiva, and he personally supported many of his talmidim. Let me just mention some of the names of his illustrious talmidim. Rav Menachem Mendel Krachmel, known as Tzemach Tzedek, Rav Gershon Ashkenazi, and probably his most illustrious student was the Taz, Rav David Halevi, one of the greatest of the Achronim. The Taz later married the Bach's daughter. In fact, I once heard from Rabbi Victor Miller that the story goes, the Bach says, my daughter, she's as beautiful as the moon. So the Taz says, okay, so I'd like to be Mekadesh Levana. And that's how the Shidduch was made. So the Bach wrote a commentary on the entire Torah called Bayis Chadash on the Torah and on the Beis Yosef. Anyone who's familiar with the Gemara knows on the side of the page is the Hagoyis Habach. He made amendations to the text of the Gemara, the Rashi, the Tosfos, the Rosh, and the Rif. He wrote a commentary on Megillas Rus called Meshav Nefesh. He wrote Shalas Teshuvos Bayis Chadash, the new ones and the older ones. He wrote a Kabbalistic commentary to the prayers and a Perush on the Ramak's Pardes Rimonim. Now, the Bach was an outspoken Gadol B'Yisrael, and he did not always stay in his rabbinic posts because he was quite outspoken. For example, he paskined against the Ramah that Chadash is permitted in Chutz La'aretz. His son writes about him that throughout the life of the Bach, that he never slept at night. So that's why it's appropriate that here we are in Krakow, we did not sleep. That's the way it goes in the city. But his whole life he was dedicated to gathering Talmidim, amassing Talmidim, and to be Marbet Torah. We said the Bach was a man of means, but earlier in his life he lived with tremendous dachkos. Let me tell you a story. It's printed in the Sefer Pardes Yosef that the Bach had a very difficult time publishing the Bach. It just wasn't coming together. It just wasn't working out. And he was so frustrated and he was so upset. One night he sort of conked out and he had a dream. And the Rebbeinu Shalom told him, and they told him that in Shamayim they're not pleased with you. You're so focused on writing the Bach and you're so focused on your Sefer, you haven't said Tikkun Chatzos in so many years. You've sort of given up on your mourning over Jerusalem. Because you're focused on your own avodah and you forgot the honor of Yerushalayim, they're not giving you the siyata d'shmaya. And the Bach was makabel upon himself to be me'aveloi tzion v'Yerushalayim, and then he had the siyata d'shmaya to publish the Bach on the Torah. Let me share with you one beautiful comment on the Bach on the Torah. The Torah writes that when you make a al ha-perois, al ha-oretz ve'al ha-perois, we know when you say al ha-michiv al kakala, you say ki atah Hashem tov v'met v'akol. We say as part of this nusach, v'haleinu l'saycha v'samachenu b'vinyana. You should bring us up into it. You should cause us to rejoice in it. V'noichal mi period, and we should eat the fruits. Basically, in our prayer, in our gratitude to Hashem for giving us mezainos, we say, Hashem, bring us up to the land of Israel so we could eat the fruits. So the Torah says, don't say, so you could eat the fruits. He says, V'yesh oimrim v'noichal mi period. He says, Ve'ein la'amroi, says the Torah. You shouldn't say that we want to go up to Israel to eat the fruits. She'ein lachmoid ha'aretz v'shel period v'tuva. You shouldn't want Eretz Yisrael for the good fruits. That's why we want Eretz Yisrael to be able to eat the fruits. Comes the Bach, and the Bach says, no, you should say v'noichal mi period. Why? Says the Bach that the Eretz Yisrael Shel Mata is reflection to Eretz Yisrael on high. that Hashem literally is shoichein his Shechina in the earth of Eretz Yisrael. And when Klal Yisrael are doing Ritzonos Shel Makom, God's presence is in the land, is in the actual soil, and is in the actual fruits. And when you consume the fruits, you're actually ingesting sanctity and Shechina. So yes, we do want to go up to Eretz Yisrael to eat the fruits, because by consuming the holy fruits of Eretz Yisrael, we're actually ingesting the sanctity of the Shechina and elevating our neshamos. And it is correct, and this is Minhag Yisrael, that we do say V'haleinu l'seicha v'noichal mipiria, says the Bach, Rabbi Yoel, Sirkis. So Yehi Zichrei Baruch, should be a Meil Tzir for all of Klal Yisrael. So just to read, we're standing here at the kever of the Bach. It's mentioned here the different places the Bach was Marbitz Torah. Incredibly, he was Marbitz Torah in Belz, and then in Shidlov, and in Brisk of Lita, and as well here as in Krakow. So the Bach, the Bayis Chadash, the great commentary on the tour. It's zechus to be here b'makom menuchasai.